welcome back to the Backwards History Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Will, here with my co-host, Kevin. Say hi, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
Shut up, Kevin.
Freedom of speech, bro.
This is not a democracy. This is a dictatorship.
Don't get me started.
Well, it seems like some of the states in the United States believe that they're a dictatorship as well.
It does seem that way if you watch the news.
Which I don't know if dictatorship's the correct word, because it's not just one person. It's whole state congresses, or majorities thereof.
Yeah, it's a select few.
But the topic of this episode is actually going to be quite the opposite of states that want to circumvent the rights of their people. Our home state, Mississippi. This week, there was a bill proposed. It's House Bill 753. And it seeks to basically set up a 9-state coalition, basically declaring those 9 states as sanctuary states for Second Amendment rights. Whereas, Virginia wants to
go in the other direction.
Right, they want to declare the Second Amendment null and void for the most part. And when I heard this, I definitely cheered for this.
I'm sure you did.
Especially considering that the day prior to that bill being proposed, a red flag law bill was proposed in the Mississippi Senate. And then I started thinking how similar having 9 states band together to oppose federal gun regulation, federal gun laws, is very similar.
Yeah.
To pre-Civil War America, with multiple states declaring themselves, I wouldn't say sovereign.
No.
Has a negative connotation in today's world, but declaring themselves immune to the federal government's opinions on how they should do things.
Definitely challenging the power of the central government.
But that's the way it's supposed to be, right?
How it's set up.
But I'm not the historian here, so I can't really make the direct comparison. So I'm going to give this to you, Kevin.
Yeah. It is very difficult to look at, states coming together to basically, establish or reestablish, I would say, their authority over the rights within their borders and their citizens, and not see striking parallels to when other states came together to resist federal regulation again with the Civil War. Now, that's the only comparison. There's not a lot of other parallels other than states realizing that if they come together and stand as one, as opposed to individual states, they have a louder voice. And just like individuals do when they protest, when they picket, when they go to vote. It's everybody coming together to inform and, challenge the power the central government has been chipping away from the states for quite a while now. Now, another more striking parallel, other than the Civil War, is when they repealed Prohibition. Now, that's the one that I always find to be fascinating, because there are 2 ways to amend the Constitution. 2/3 vote in Congress, or 2/3 vote by the states. And it's only ever been done once by the states, and that was in 1933, when 36 of the then 48 states came together and voted to repeal Prohibition, where they saw a federal law and they saw all the problems it was causing, because it outlawed alcohol, but people were dying from mob violence and poorly regulated liquor that was killing people.
Let's not forget the fact that it has been proven that during Prohibition, the United States government poisoned several thousand gallons of alcohol.
Right, because the alcohol is still being produced for manufacturing and on the industrial level. But people realize, hey, I can just drink this stuff instead. And then they started to, in a very sinister way to prevent people from drinking it, was to poison it. Where you could still have the industrial applications of it, but it wasn't safe for human consumption.
And then they can go, oh, well, see, you shouldn't be drinking alcohol. It'll kill you. I mean, yes, even alcohol produced correctly will kill you if you consume enough of it. But if you poison it, it's definitely going to kill people.
Because, and like I said, that's where I see the parallels is the states see an unjust law and they realize that, hey, we still have power. We still have authority to challenge federal rulings. And you see this a lot, and especially the last few decades with states like Colorado really leading the charge, legalizing marijuana.
And Washington.
And you see...
State, not D.C.
Yeah, D.C. Let's make that clarification.
Real clear.
And then you have other states that challenged or established same-sex marriage before the federal government. They were real slow to react to that one.
Years before.
So it's actually really comforting to see states taking that power back for themselves, and it gives me hope that with the checks and balances in place, that the states can keep the federal government not necessarily in line, but make them less brazen to come after certain rights or to try to throw their weight around, I guess you could say.
Funny you should say that. I was listening to Joe Biden the other day talking about the Second Amendment. And he basically said, if you don't have F-15 or F-18 with Hellfire missiles, then you're not going to be able to do anything about what the government wants to do. Ouch. So somewhat... he was actually pro-expansion of the Second Amendment in that statement. His intention was to be anti-Second Amendment. Like, oh, you'll talk about fighting tyranny. Well, if we wanted to be tyrannical, you'd have to eat it,
Right, like, keep your guns because we got bigger ones.
I guess Mr. Joe, I like to sniff children, Biden, forgot that, the strongest military in the world with F-18s and Hellfire missiles has been fighting against dudes in a third world country with decades-old Soviet arms, and we're still at war with them.
It's not so much the weapons, but the resolve of the people.
I dare say that the American people are much more well-armed than they are. Granted, we don't have fully automatic AK-47s.
No.
But we have a lot better trained individuals here than I would assume over there. Because they're in a third world country. I don't know. I think Mr. Joe, I have no respect for personal space, Biden, has any idea what he's talking about.
It sounds good on the campaign trail,
When your constituents are moms demand action. Granted, now he's got Michael, I want your soda the size of a Dixie cup, Bloomberg, and you can Xerox the probable cause for your stop and frisks, Bloomberg. He's got him on the campaign trail against him.
Right.
And Moms Demand Action is funded by Bloomberg, so they're going to be backing Bloomberg.
Oh, of course.
Right.
Who's got the money?
But back to our original point or conversation, House Bill 753. Yep. Here's questions I have about it. Yep. You don't propose a bill to include 9 states if you haven't talked to anybody in those 9 states.
Right, you just don't start throwing names down.
I would love to know what conversations have been had behind closed doors on this? Like, is Mississippi just hopping out there and saying, hey, you guys, y'all want to sign this? Or if it's been multiple states and Mississippi's going, hey, we're going to toss this out here, you guys follow suit. We already had this conversation. Mm-hmm. Or if they're jumping on something that's already in the works in other states. I would assume it's not, because I would think we would have heard about it by now.
It is interesting. When you brought it up to me the other day, I was like, I haven't even heard about this. And all of a sudden, we got 9 states jumping on the bandwagon, so to speak, which I'm not saying that as a negative detractor or anything, but, you know, you got to think, if states are getting together to discuss, you know, bills and laws and things, you know, what's got them more or less cooperating together so well in a relatively short amount of time, I would think.
I think the 9 states are Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and West Virginia. That's 7, so we're missing 2. Well, regardless, it's 9 states. Those are among the 9 states. Interesting question. Should this coalition be formed? 1, would the government take it as a threat?
You can definitely see how they would word it.
Because that's 9 states that they are forbidden from operating in that capacity.
I mean, it's almost a fifth of the states.
Now, if you forbid federal gun laws from being
enforced
in your state, does that mean the ATF gets kicked out?
Oh.
Does the ATF get kicked out of 9 states?
Or do they see their powers limited, maybe?
I don't know.
There are a lot of implications that go beyond just you're safe here with your rights, because there's a larger infrastructure in place.
Mm-hmm. And what do they do? What does the government do in response?
Well, that's
the question.
That's the one that keep you up at night, like, basically, this is the line in the sand kind of thing.
And that's why we drew these distinction, or the connection between pre-Civil War America and now. It's 9 states banding together to say, we as a group are not going to take this.
I mean, in history, as I illustrated, it's very, very rare that states come together to, you know, combat something. And it usually, you know, is against the federal government. It's usually a very large deal.
Now, I'm not saying we're to the point of states seceding.
Oh, Lord, no.
But this seems like you could argue that it would be a precursor to secession if this passes and then is not respected.
Right. Because, like you said, it's all about the response. And that's, you know, the one you're waiting on. Like, how are they going to take it? Like, the states are saying, we have our power, we have our rights, and we're standing here. You know, go back to the whole "don't tread on me."
Right. Which, by the way, my "don't tread on me" flag is about to go up tomorrow. But if these states band together to say, no, we will not comply with unconstitutional laws, what other states might band together to say the same? Or what other unconstitutional laws could those same states say, you know what, we're already saying no to this, we're going to say no to this too. Right. Now, people will draw parallels from this, saying, okay, well, if you can have 9 sanctuary states, we can have, you know, a coalition of states that are for gun regulation and registration and banning, blah, blah, blah. Difference is,
you got the Constitution.
You got morality. You've got the, I won't say morality versus immorality, because it's idiocy to look at laws and think laws dictate morals.
Oh, history tells us they don't.
Exactly. Because slavery was legal, Holocaust was legal.
There's a whole lot
of stuff that was completely legal that we know is wrong. But the Constitution backs this 9-state deal. If another set of states wants to do something that is unconstitutional, then
it's a nice precedent to have on the books, you know.
Right. You're in the wrong here constitutionally. We're in the right constitutionally.
Right. It's nice to have that that strong backing,
But having 9 states basically tell the government no could encourage other states to tell them no, because the federal government has gotten a little big for its britches. But granted, a lot of state governments, most state governments have gotten big for their britches. We're looking at you, Virginia.
Called you out.
But I don't know. I'm interested in seeing where this goes, because I don't see this failing, at least in Mississippi.
Oh, no.
Because it was proposed by a Republican representative or senator.
Yeah, I think so.
And Mississippi is a Republican supermajority.
For a while now.
So I don't see that failing unless it's on some stipulation and a rewrite, maybe.
I can see rewrites, possibly.
Because it also, there's one part I left out.
Oh,
it also defies the Real ID regulations that are supposed to be coming into play. So I don't know. It goes after 2 very big things right now.
And it's kind of a natural occurrence if you see it politically speaking, because anytime during election seasons you have your buzzwords, your hot topic issues, and a lot of, especially Democratic, they're the ones who have always, when it's time to get elected, we're not saying we're taking your guns. We're just saying
we want to limit it.
Common sense gun laws.
Air quotes on the common sense.
And they've gotten really outspoken about certain infringements, if you will. And so it's only natural that their counterpart, politically speaking, the Republican Party you're going to have pushback. You're going to have constituents who want their rights protected. And so I'm not surprised. It's the timing that's got me. Like, it happened kind of really quick.
Out of nowhere. Like, it surprised me a lot. Because out of nowhere, I just all of a sudden saw online the Mississippi proposed House Bill 753. 9 state gun sanctuary. I'm like, 9 states?
Wow.
Not just Mississippi?
Yeah.
Like, I was surprised. I saw it coming from Mississippi.
Oh, no doubt.
Because Governor Phil Bryant already said Mississippi won't comply with federal gun regulations back when they passed House Bill 2. And that was in like 2011 or something like that.
Oh, it has been a while.
And, but for it being 9 states wide, looking to basically go into agreements with this, I'm like, okay, guys, let's jump on out there.
Probably expand it to more states, I would imagine.
I would assume so. Me being born in the Carolinas, I'm highly upset that they're not included in this. But any of our Carolinian listeners, they already know that those beautiful states have been taken over by Democrats who want to limit your guns. Now, with discussing red flag laws and Real ID and gun legislation, confiscation, yada yada, one has to wonder why this is even a question.
Exactly.
Considering that the 2 amendments that all of these things, well, not all of them, because Real ID doesn't have anything to do with the Second Amendment, but
true.
All of these things are directly opposed to 2 of the most clear constitutional rights in the Bill of Rights.
Very plainly written.
Because the Second Amendment literally says, and it is the only one that says, shall not be infringed. It says, shall not be infringed. And the Fourth Amendment says, shall not be violated. Real ID seeks to violate your Fourth Amendment because it's a federal ID, as opposed to a state ID, which is what we currently have. So, why are we even having this conversation?
I've been having this conversation for a while.
Exactly. Why, though? Like, it's my opinion that every law, when it is proposed, before it even gets to the point of being voted on needs to pass like a constitutional checklist.
Save a lot of time.
Like a flow chart. You ever seen a flow chart where it's like,
I use them a lot in archaeology.
Right. If so-and-so doesn't fix it or does fix it, go this way. If it doesn't fix it, go this way.
Right.
Well, if this law, is it constitutional? If no, stop. If yes, go on. Why even bother with something that is unconstitutional right then?
I guess been saying it's election season, it's a political issue, it gets people to vote, and it's one of those things that's probably not going to go away because it always gets people riled up, either if you're pro or con, and you're always listening, you're always, it's one or the other. There's really not a whole lot of middle ground,
And if you think about it, we, as the American people, literally live and die by the things done for an election. The promises made, the bills proposed. We live and die for other people's career advancement as politicians.
And is a very true and frightening statement.
Right. But at the face of everything, that's literally how it goes.
And they had the power over essentially it all. And it's one of those things, it should keep you up at night, thinking about how other people who don't even know you influence your life every day by the decisions they make and the lives of millions of other people.
Right. And I don't know, it's disturbing to me, but that may be why some people or most people are just like, I don't do politics, because
it's difficult to understand.
It's difficult to understand, but also if they knew politics and actually paid attention, it'd be scary.
Oh, yeah. And politicians have learned that instead of working for the common good, it's a team sport, like you've said before.
Yep.
We just got to get our people to believe what we say, and all those other people are wrong, and it's not we're going to come together and discuss issues. It's we're right, they're wrong. That's the end of it. You believe what I say, and you got followers instead of constituents now. And that is so far from what it's supposed to be.
Well, we have followers. We have listeners.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't want you to believe what we say.
Please don't.
We're just two dudes with a microphone.
That's it.
We don't want you to take what we say as truth. We don't want you to even think that we're experts on anything. We want you to form your own opinions, do your own research, and as always, trust, but verify.